There we go. How are you
All right.
doing?
Not bad yourself.
I'm good. I'm having fun today. Having some great
Good.
chats. Running a little bit over time, so thanks for waiting a little bit there for me.
It's
Appreciate
all
it.
right.
How's
Not going
you're
anywhere
not
anyway.
going anywhere. How are you keeping busy actually lately? How's the quarantine life treating you?
I have a 1-year-old, so that's keeping me really busy.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah. Musically, I've got some time to put in some writing. Working on some new stuff. I'm actually releasing a couple of singles over the next few months. And I plan to knuckle down and get stuck into doing a new album next year.
Awesome.
So I've been busy doing that. So
That's
plus
brilliant.
just getting to kind of mess around. You know, play some covers and learn some new songs, and yeah, so I'm kind of enjoying it,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. It's nice, I suppose, with the baby as well. You get to spend some time. Is it a boy or a girl?
Yeah, baby girl.
Baby girl, amazing. And that's the first one, is it?
That's
The
the
first
first
child.
one.
So you're a family man now.
Yeah. It's a bit different. It was gonna happen sooner or later, but
Amazing.
it's
How has it has it affected your sort of perspective towards music or songwriting, having a sort of creation, a physical creation manifested into the world?
um, I guess in some ways you feel like you have to be a little bit more sensible. So that's the main thing. Musically, it hasn't affected me too much. I mean, I've found myself writing songs, about being a parent, which is
Hmm.
something that I guess you have to be a parent to in order to write about, or else it'd be really fucking weird. But
Yeah,
um, yeah, so I mean, I have a couple of songs that I've kind of wrote about her. It was always bound to happen, so I'm kind of glad I got it out of the way. You know. So yeah, I hope to be releasing a couple of maybe a double A side later this year, toward the end of the year, and maybe two songs about the little girl.
great, amazing. Well, congratulations, and it's great you get to spend some time with her now as well in quarantine, getting to know each other and stuff. Because is music your full time profession, or were you doing something else before the quarantine as well?
No, I was doing something else for quarantine as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like music is, it's a weird thing because it's a great job to have it just full time, but then
Mm.
at the same time, if you look at the bigger picture, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every week of every year. So you lose a lot of other things with having music full time.
Mm-hmm. And you've traveled a lot as well. So when I was introducing you there, you've been to Germany, UK, US, and how's that been actually for you? How's that experience? I've never traveled with music myself, and I'm just really curious to know what it's kind of like to travel with your music.
Yeah, like I love it. We were supposed to go on tour in March. We released the show goes on double A side in March, but obviously because of the pandemic, it was we had to call it off until next year. But traveling
Mm.
is great. It can take it out of you a bit, particularly you know if you're enjoying yourself too much. I mean, you're doing your
Mm.
gig and you're staying up late, and then the next day you have to travel to another city or another town. It's tiring in that sense, but it's great. Like it's very rewarding. People are very, they like hearing your songs. They're very appreciative of it, and they've great respect for musicians in other countries. Not that they don't hear, but I
Mm.
find in other places they nearly hold us in a higher regard than they would here. So
Mm.
that's nice. But yeah, like it is great. I don't know how it's going to be when we get to actually do that tour next year. With leaving the little one, I'll probably feel somewhat different than I have
Mm.
before. But it's something I'm always going to do, and the opportunity will always be there to do it. And I mean, I'd recommend it for bands and artists just to get out there because there are big scenes outside of Dublin and outside of Ireland. It's just finding
Mm.
them. You know?
Yeah. How long was the longest you've been away with music?
At any one time, probably 2 weeks.
Mm.
What I would do is you do a run of gigs and you could kind of come back before you head off. See, particularly if it's between Germany and Ireland and maybe England, it's not that big a deal to
Sure.
just to come home for a few days.
Mm. Mm.
Um, and it's just a way of recharging the batteries because if you're in a different country or a different city, you're
Mm.
going to just in the pub,
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Especially if
if
you're
you want to
Irish.
rest, you got. Yeah, exactly. If you want to rest, you got to come home.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting actually. And when you say they hold in high regard, because I've heard this, you're not the first person to say this, first musician, and I know what you mean. I know. You're not trying to say anything is better. Everything is. It's always a different experience, depending on which country you're going into, how music is treated. But I believe you're speaking of it in a sort of professional sense, whereby how booking uh, promoters sort of treat you as a musician. Is that sort of what you're talking about? How they sort of put you up in hotels, or how they put you up in what kind of perks you get as being a musician? Is that kind of what?
They are certainly better,
Hmm.
yeah, in
And sorry, go
in
on.
other countries, you know. But I guess I've kind of met more that like, okay, so I've been kind of gigging for 15, 16 years now at this stage, and you know, you've kind of seen it all in the sense of the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to gigging in Ireland.
Mm,
Um, some nights are great, some nights are fucking awful.
mm,
And a lot of that can be kind of how you're treated by the staff in the venue, by the audience that are there, particularly if you're doing, say, a covers gig. I mean, you don't really know what you're walking into or what type of audience you're walking into, you know.
mm,
And I've been, like probably so many musicians, I've been at the receiving end of like a bad crowd. And I kind of mean that I've had it here, but I've never had it abroad. You know, people don't feel the need to get in your face. People don't feel the need to trip you off
mm.
in different places. With that said, I'm not saying that it's bad over here. I mean, these are, you know, they're, you know, it doesn't happen all that often, but
Mm.
that's kind of what I meant. But yeah, the perks are kind of somewhat different when you play abroad. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, especially from myself. I guess I've heard it being said before, and I know a lot of musicians also would say the Irish are one of the best crowds in a stadium form, and as a large group, and can be one of the most amazing supporters with regard to singing along
Yeah.
and things like that. But I suppose in the local community, or it depends on the situation as well. Like you're saying, when you're doing covers and things like that, I wonder if there's a different perception towards people that obviously play covers and people that play originals more, which there is, I guess. But it's just an interesting topic to touch on, right? Because it's kind of like the sort of respect, which I value. Like for me, respect I think is first and foremost for musicians. Like I think it's because I am a musician, I'm a fan of music, and I do promotion, you know. But for
Yeah.
me, it's always about respecting the musician, you know, and respecting them being on stage, you know, aka not talking, you know, or keeping it at least quiet, you know, things like that. Not shouting covers at them. Some people don't know those sort of Ten Commandments. You know, there should probably be a list. You
Yeah.
know.
Like I mean, the gigs are enjoyable. I'm not trying to, you know, put a negative kind of spin on it, but I mean it is when you're there to entertain people, or you're there, you know, doing your job, but people kind of, you know, feel the need. I feel like they have the right to come up on the stage or grab your mic stand or
Hmm.
touch your guitar when you're not using it, or you know, come up and get really close and play this song, play this, play. We're not there for that. I'm not there for that, and nor as kind of any other band or artist.
Hmm.
You know, it's just it can you can get great crack out of some people, but you know, on some nights it's just bad. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I guess that's what I mean more so. And I haven't wherever I've been in the rest of the world, I haven't encountered that.
It's
Not yet.
interesting.
So maybe I will. You know, but yeah, I mean, overall the Irish crowd probably are the best in the world,
Hmm.
absolutely. But unfortunately, I've came across some people who are just fucking idiots.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as well, you're going to find that with drink, isn't it? You know, and most of the you're obviously doing more gigs in Ireland, right, as well. So the chances of you getting sort of a worse night is can be rare, but the chances are greater, right?
Of course, yeah. And like I
Mm,
mean, listen, if you're you know, if you're doing the cover thing, you're open for a bit of stick because you might do a
mm,
cover of a song that someone really loves, but they just don't think you're doing it justice. So you know,
mm,
you could probably royal someone in that sense. For the original thing over here, everybody's been absolute stars when it comes to come to our
The
gigs, you
support
know.
is amazing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, of
Community is
course.
great, and that's one thing that it does lack. I've seen it lacking in some places, you know, as a spectator anyway,
Yeah,
in some cities. So I've definitely come back to Dublin, sort of refreshed and sort of feeling comfortable knowing that I can go out on the weekend and you know, see some amazing musicians and feel the support in the room as well. All the same, isn't it?
of course, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's
absolutely.
crazy. I love. We randomly went into this sort of conversation, so I do apologize for if I did put you on the spot into talking
Oh,
about
yeah, okay.
crowds and
You're all
stuff.
right.
But I love how naturally just kind of get into a convo with musicians. We can always talk about so many different things, and I try not to keep the questions similar to people as well. So I kind of wanted to see your perspective, especially because you're doing it like 16, 17 years. You're in the biz, so
Been a while, yeah.
it's quite a while. Like, what's kind of the have you received any like really good advice from somebody in the industry? And you could just totally say no, and we can go on to the next point. So it's fine. But is there anything that like sort of resonated with you, or that sort of almost, you know, you keep with you as a sort of thing?
Yeah, like I'm sure there has been, you know, apart from the obvious one where people just tell you to keep going and keep your head up because being, you know, particularly when it comes to doing your own music, it's tough. You know, any band or artist will tell you it's really tough. So, and with it being so difficult, obviously it's going to be disheartening when things don't go your way, and they'll go against you more so than they'll go in your favor.
Mm,
So I've had the, you know, the typical ones like, oh, you know, you got to keep going, and you know, the day you give it up will be the day you get your break. All of them ones, but some of the stuff we, you know, the advice I've got when it comes into like studio performance and all that things, like some of the people I've met, it's been invaluable. Like,
mm,
um, just different ways to kind of tune, you know, the guitar, or, you know, the different keys, and you know, the open, you know, G and stuff like them
mm,
kind of things that I've, you know, I've got off people, and it's been mainly in a studio environment. You know, I'm the type of guy that I'll go in and I'll have me song done down on acoustic guitar, and it could be G, C, D, and they're like, oh, but did you try it in this tune and play these chords? So them
mm,
kind of things, like that's all great, but there's nothing really that jumps out as the main bit of advice I've got.
mm,
Um, it's really for me, it's been trial and error. I've done the majority of things myself. Where I am now, I only have to thank myself for really, because no one's kind of given me a helping hand.
mm.
Um, so yeah, it's kind of you know, you get yourself born and then you're like, okay, don't do that again,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
Next,
or
move on. Yeah, lesson
you
learned.
know, and
Mm,
that's I think it's the only approach that I've known. You know, I wish there was a kind of a guidebook, and I
yeah,
wish
yeah.
I
Or a
had, you
formula.
know,
Yeah.
some sort of advisor that could say, you know, this is what you should be doing, and would plan everything out for me, because it'd make my life a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah. But
But
I guess as well, what works for you might not work for others too, right? So it can depend on many factors what works for somebody, right?
absolutely, like I mean, you could talk to 10 songwriters about how they write a song, and you could get 10 different answers. You
Mm,
know, everybody's different, and everybody has their own way and their own methods that will work for them. But it's, you know, it's different for people. But I
mm,
listen. I hope there's some sort of savior that'll come along and say, listen, this is what you got to do for the next 10 years. This is what you have to do.
mm,
You know, I'll welcome that person if they're listening.
mm.
You know,
Maybe we
I'm
will
all,
find that person.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
all ears.
You have your guitar in your hands, so I guess should we get a couple of tunes from you? What do you think?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Cool,
All
man.
right. So this next song, it's a song called "Garbage or Gold." Um, I've been working on a lot of music lately, and some of them are coming out like rock songs. Some of them kind of have an indie feel. Some of them have a singer-songwriter stuff, but some of them are kind of coming out nearly like country songs. At least in my head, that's how they're sounding. So this is one of them that I've kind of just parked. And actually this morning they're just messing around with it. So it's one that I'll probably get working on next year. I plan to do like a maybe like a country kind of style album just to get
Cool.
it out of my system. So this is one of them that I'm keeping for them. It's called Garbage or Gold.
Awesome. Nice one.
Heading down the road, my sense of newfound freedom. Street signs and city lights pass me as I'm on my way home. I think about the rules I held broken yet. Now think about the boys, and if they bite you, forget the mess that I was last time we met. Run from the girl and all the secrets she kept. I'm sure all the lies and the bruise didn't hurt, but I know sometimes it don't come easy. Sometimes all the world's against you, and the truth is all that can protect you. 'Cause my heart so cold. How to know? Are we just garbage or gold? Near in the darkness on the edge of my town, should I call up the guys and see if they're out? This place brings the worst out of me. Yesterday's laughter this morning it is so roll up and chair we can roll back the years. Never I wanted to be. But time gonna erase the future can change, and I'm still a young man with some lines on my face. And I think about the girl who has taken my place. Sometimes all the world's against you, and the truth is all that can protect you. 'Cause my heart, my so cold. I don't know how we just got visual. Oh, oh, oh. I don't know how we just got visual. I don't know how we just got visual.
Nice, nice. Well done, man.
You.
Is that so? That was the debut, was it? Did we have you played that live before, or?
Do you know, I don't think I've played it live before. I'm pretty sure I've been doing it in sound check and things like that. I really like the open E. It's quite low, so you can get a good, guitar level from smacking that chord. But no, I'm pretty sure we haven't.
Cool. So, well,
He's playing that as a band, anyways.
thanks for showing it on our show as an
Oh, no
exclusive in that
problem.
case. Did you remember when I sent you the message about the sound thing? Were you able to amend that?
Yeah,
It's still it's interesting when you sing. The guitar sounds grand, but then when you don't sing, the guitar doesn't come through. It's really interesting how Zoom is picking it up. But just to let the people anyway, it's not it's you can still listen to it and enjoy it. So just to let you guys know at home as well, that's we're still working out some of the kinks with Zoom. It's quite tricky actually because there are some settings in there that we're trying to make work and it's still sometimes is a mystery. But that's all, it's all okay. It's all part of the process of doing these live gigs. How have you been? Like, have you done much live shows? Have you done anything on the streaming sort of end of things?
I never had before until the lockdown. I never
Mm,
even thought about it. So now it's kind of it's a must. I mean, if you want to play, you gotta do these type of gigs. But
mm.
I've been doing a lot since. And the first one I done was the 27th of March, and it was a really laid back thing. That was supposed to be the final night of our tour, the closing night in Dublin.
Hmm.
So it was a bit of a downer that didn't go ahead, obviously. So I figured that I would just do a gig on Facebook. I'd get myself a couple of beers and just see who tuned in, and a lot of people tuned in, which was really good.
Hmm.
And it kind of just gave me a bit of a thirst for doing it. So I've done I've done a few of my own gigs, and then I've appeared on a couple of shows like this. So I'm very appreciative to be on them because it's great crack, particularly when I don't have to do everything myself, and have you there running the show. So, but yeah, it's probably something I will keep doing. I'm eager to get back gigging,
Mm.
particularly you know back touring. Um, but I probably will keep these kind of gigs, keep them in my routine.
Awesome. No, that's great to hear, and I'm delighted to have you on the show as well. It's really cool that you took the time out. So, thank you. Would you like to play another song for us?
Yeah. So this is a song called "The Bones of Mary." It's a single off my debut album, which was called Magnolia Road, which I released in 2017. And yeah, it's a kind of my go-to song when I'm picking one of my own songs to play. This is my favorite one to play still after all this time. So yeah. Of the surrender for the silly things she's thinking of. She's declaring love and she's going home. Southful eyes that are all so she's a pretty thing. Oh, such a pretty thing. She's looking for love. Oh, big vibrations and rosary beats. So little time and so many. Cry for help and some understand. She's pressing wings when I can't stand. She's a pretty, oh, such a pretty. Yeah, you can't stay innocence in this life if you wanna be in love with me. 'Cause all I know how to do is dream. How I love the bones that we made, but you don't need me. Candle wax and yellow pages full of try she's confiscated. Should soon have a friend to call her home. A beautiful angel from a funeral home. She's a little, oh, such a beautiful. Yeah, you can't stay innocent in this life if you wanna be in love with me. 'Cause all I know how to do is dream. Yeah. I love the bones that you made, but you don't need me. And the world is still turning, so promise you won't cry. To reach my final resting place, don't you say goodbye. Yeah, you can't stay innocent in this life if you wanna be in love with me. 'Cause all I know how to do is dream. I love only you, but you don't need me. You don't need me. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Awesome, man.
You.
It's great. How does I always ask this to kind of singer songwriters or duos or single singer-songwriters. Like how does writing songs work for you? Like do you is it different? A lot of people say it's just different really. Like the lyrics come first, do you write it as a poem, or do you get into the flow of a rhythm or a structure of chords, and the lyrics come out, or it's always different?
It's yeah, it's quite strange for me. I have no kind of go-to way of no method. Um, I could be, I mean, I could be making a cup of tea and like just something will pop in my head like, oh, I mean, that's a good line, you know, and
Mm,
I'll go straight to the notes in my phone and I'll just write it down, and I may never look at that again for a year. It does happen sometimes when I'll sit down with the intention of writing a song and it'll work.
mm,
More times, you know, than often it won't work. When I sit down and say, right, I'm gonna sit here for 3 hours, I'm gonna write two songs, it never fucking works me that way. Um, so it's really different for me. And sometimes I struggle. It could take me a long time to finish a song. I wrote a song for my debut album called West Wing Tales. I had the song for years, you know. I couldn't find the chorus, and I'm really fond of the song. Um, and I was away on holidays in a phone box, and I was ringing home, and they had a pen on hanging from a bit of string. You know, I was writing down a number, whatever I was doing. But I seen on the pen, I had a, you know, West Wing Tales on the pen. So I was like,
mm.
and that song was finished. Albeit, you know, 5 years later or whatever it was. That's how that's how it can happen sometimes, you know.
Wow, wow. So it's just about absorbing things subconsciously almost, right?
Yeah, like I mean, I'm the type of song where you know, I won't use my imagination. I'll write about stuff that I know. You know, I
Mm,
mean, I've wrote about love, loss. You know, I wrote some of me probably more rockier songs about the recession and all the shit that went on back in, you know, a good few years ago now at this stage. So I kind of write more serious content, but it's stuff that I've lived, or you know, it's about people that that I know have went through certain things. Um, yeah, so it's that's how it works for me. And the answer is there's no
there's no
way. It's just
formula. Once,
when it
yeah,
happens, it happens, and when it doesn't, it doesn't.
yeah, it's amazing. How long, like, have you had like streaks of like hyper creativity, or streaks of like a prolonged one, you know, like a dry spell of creativity? And how do you function in that sort of mode?
With the I've had both. I mean, I've had I think funny enough when I was doing my album, we were short a song or two. So I think there's 11 songs on the album, and we had about I think we had nine. But I needed, you know, I wanted at least to be 10 songs, double figures. I wanted to have 10 songs, but to try get the final two songs, it actually killed me. You know, I was like, fuck, I could just put out an album at nine. I
Hmm.
couldn't seem to get them right. Um, so that was a difficult spell for creativity. I don't know whether it was like an overload because I've been working so hard on the other songs that maybe my brain is going to give up on me. I'm not
Hmm.
sure. Now, luckily, as luck would have it, I was able to get two songs, and we got the 11 songs on the album. But I'm pretty sure after that, then when there was no pressure on writing songs, they you
It
know
was
they
easier.
yeah, it was a lot easier.
Yeah.
Um, like if you look at me single for March, that was a double A side with two songs that I released about the death of my grandmother's in the space of a day each year in 2017. So the content was there, um, so it was easy to kind of to write about.
Mm.
But then you know there could be another time when I'm writing about something else, some other form of hardship or something. It just won't happen for me. And I'm more of a songwriter where it's when I reflect on things. Like it could be a year or two down the road. That's when I actually find it easier to write. If I'm thinking back to how something was,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
easier for me to focus on it then. But when I'm writing the moment, to living with something, I struggle more with so, well, but at least signing off on the song. You know, on
Mm.
my own. You know, I judge myself probably more than anybody else just judges me lyrics and stuff. So
That's like so many artists, and possibly every artist in the world is always their worst self critic, right?
yeah, of course. And you know,
Mm.
you hear people when they listen to their own music and they're like, oh shit, you know, it's terrible. I hate that singer. Although you know it yourself, you know,
Mm.
you just yeah, so I don't, I don't listen to my own music for that reason, because you always hear something that you didn't put in, or that would have been nice there. Or I don't like that, so I tend just not to listen to the old stuff.
So will you watch back on this interview?
Probably not, no, because I don't like listening to myself. I'll fast
Interesting.
forward to your parts, but no, I tend not to. Like, I mean, if I know I've done something that was really, really bad, I'll probably look back and kind of go, "Oh, shit," and then improve on it so I don't do it again.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I tend not to.
That's interesting. Yeah. So you would actually look back if there was something horrific that happened, or not horrific, but in one's own mind as something what something would want to somebody would want to fix or amend. You'd look at that. I'd be the opposite. I wouldn't look at I'd know it happened, and just go, okay,
Yeah,
let's try and not do that. I can't look at that again. The cringe of the self cringe is horrible. But I had to look back at myself on these shows to kind of see how I'm presenting myself on a regular basis, right? I mean,
yeah,
to people, and it's recorded, so people can kind of look at it and rewind, and not that people do like delve in deep into it, but and of course everybody has their own perception on how they take information, or a conversation, or a tone, or however it is. You can go
yeah.
very specific, but yeah, no, I definitely steer away from the major cringy, and possibly delete
Well,
or
it's
edit.
it's it's good for people, because we actually can. Like, I mean, you can't go to do your gig in the Workman's Club or whatever it is and go, shit, I wish I could wash myself last night. At least with this, at least with
Yeah,
in this day and age, we can kind of, with what's going on, at least we can kind of look back and say, oh, I fucked up on that song, didn't I? Or whatever the case may be. So,
yeah. It's great having
but
that third person perspective. I think that's something that I really enjoy, is genuinely that third person perspective. I would watch back on my shows and see, what I can improve on, and kind of accept it to a certain way. And I do enjoy
yeah,
receiving feedback from people too. I don't know about yourself. Do you like hearing feedback and from people with regard to your music and
I think um, constructive criticism is okay.
hmm,
Um, I do like getting feedback. Everybody likes getting good feedback. And I don't, if someone comes with me and goes, listen to, particularly at gigs, they'll say, oh, look, the sound's not great, or whatever it may be. If you can't hear you singing or whatever, things like that are fine. It's when people come up to you, oh, I just want to tell you that song's fucking shit. It's when that kind of criticism and feedback you don't really need. It's not important to anybody. But yeah, like, feedback is important,
hmm.
particularly when it's constructive
I
of
guess
some sort.
it's good in a studio setting too, right? With a producer, and that's so important,
Yeah,
right? To have that.
well, that's a given.
Mm,
That's
mm.
that's a given. I mean, they're the professionals at the end of the day. They're the ones that work in the studio or man the studio every day. So you got to listen to them. It's
Mm.
the live environment it's a bit different, but yeah, in the studio, absolutely.
Do you stay with the same? Have you stayed with the same producer, or have you moved around with different producers
Yeah,
over the past
I've
years?
stayed with the same one, Sean Montgomery Dietz, a Californian guy living in Clare.
Wow, that's
He's
so
been
random.
yeah, it is. And it was a dream to work with him on the album, because I brought the song so far, and then, right, I was like, that's all I have. Now that's it,
Mm,
I'm done. So he's able to bring that extra little bit. And like I said, you know, I judge myself. I'm hard on myself when it comes to songs, but I get attached to my own songs, particularly the ones that I'm really fond of.
mm-hmm,
And maybe other, songwriters will tell you it's hard to kind of let go, and from, let's say, you might have came up with the first chorus, bridge, whatever the structure is, you want to stick to that. The producer comes in and say, actually, you should drop that last chorus and drop the verse and put the bridge before the last chorus. Things like that. It's great when you allow them to do it.
mm-hmm,
And that was hard for me with the album. Was like, no, I know better because I wrote the songs. But as it turned out, I didn't know better. The producer knew better, because it was a
mm,
fresh pair of ears on a song that I'd been working on, and grown attached to over the course of a year. But he was able to come in and say, no, it's wrong. Do it this way.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And he was dead right. So yeah, it's been great working with him on 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 the albums and the recordings. I've done a song with in a new studio, Studio 7, and that's due out next month. And it was a different approach again, and it was great. Like, working with Gav, it was a great experience too.
Mm.
So it's nice having other people produce your work and then
Hmm.
kind of someone else being the boss,
Yeah, yeah. Maybe less pressure, right?
Yeah, at least during the recording process.
Mm. That's interesting. Yeah, no, it's fascinating. I guess you can't spend a lot of time in the studio, especially doing an album. It can be stressful because there is time constraints to an extent, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, when we done the album, we started 2000. I'm pretty sure it was March or April 2015. And we only released it in November 2017. It was hard going because it was so expensive to do it. Um, and like I hadn't got a big label kind of paying for it. So
Mm,
what you had to do was you had to gig, save, go in and record a song, and just do that process
mm,
11 times. That's how
wow.
why it took so long. We did. There was stages where we would block book maybe 2 weeks, but I remember the first time we block booked a 2 week period, like two of the lads got sick, and I had the other person shit going on. So
Mm,
we actually paid for 2 weeks, and I don't even think we got 4 days.
wow, wow, that's crazy.
So, but like, shit happens as well, when you're recording. If someone is sick and they can't sing, what can you do?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You can't record and put it out there,
True,
you know.
true. Kevin Casey, absolute pleasure. I wish I could chat to you a bit longer or hear another song, but I have one more guest left. I'm running a little bit
Oh, man,
delayed,
you're all
brother.
right.
Nice catching up.
Okay.
Nice getting to know you, man. We've been in the same venues before. We have mutual friends, and it's crazy. It's taken us so long to actually have a chat. It took us a quarantine to actually get to know each other. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, well, that's silver linings and all that.
Listen, brother, take care, and I look forward to you're releasing a single. Can you actually just tell us a little bit about any upcoming
Yes,
releases, please?
of course. So on June 20th, I'm releasing a new song called "It's All Right."
Hmm.
It's more of a it's back to kind of our normal stuff. It's a rock and roll song. So that comes out June 20th on Spotify, Shazam, iTunes, all them things. It was supposed to be for Record Store Day, but because it's been postponed now 2 times, I'm
Hmm.
just gonna go ahead with its release on June 20th as normal. So yeah, you get it. You get it online, have a look, and let me know what you think of it.
Awesome, brother. I'm looking forward to that.
All
Listen,
right.
absolute pleasure chatting to you, and have a great weekend, brother.
Yeah,
Take
man.
care.
Cheers. See you later. Bye.
Okay, guys, that was the awesome Kevin Casey. My first time chatting to him. He's literally just around the corner from me, so maybe I'll grab him out for a local pint once the pubs open. What an absolute gentleman.